right, what are we at here? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to American Advocates. A lot to talk about today. A little bit of a delayed presence here on my end. I was trying to figure out some Streamlabs operations here. Apparently, there's a Streamlabs mobile app for your phone, and it will allow you to set up your stream kind of like I did back when I was using my PC. And so I was trying to get that set up so I could screen share and refer to some articles that you guys would be able to see, as well as videos. But can't figure it out, so we're just live right now. Are you on the run? I am on the run. Yeah, I'm homeless, and that's not allowed in the state that I'm in. So the police are always after me. So I'm always on the run. I got to keep walking. No, I just wanted to go for a walk. It's honestly it's a beautiful day out. A little misty, a little rainy, but beautiful day. Warm weather's here. It's pretty much like summer again, honestly, or it's coming at least. So I'm just gonna be walking for this stream, honestly, and I'm gonna wing it completely. I mean, I was looking at news articles, so I know exactly what I want to talk about today, and there was a lot going on in the news today. A lot happening with Iran. A lot going on with the Trump Department of Justice as well. Utterly a complete failure at this point, in all honesty. And really just kind of coming together, these two factors, the Iran war and the Trump DOJ, culminating together to really make the Republican Party look abysmal for midterms. And am I on the run from Democrats? No, I'm not. No, you don't have to run from Democrats. Democrats don't know how to run. Democrats don't know how to do anything but live off welfare, so I'm not worried about them. Anyways, the news today. Several breaking stories coming in, actually very breaking news just about an hour ago. Iraq having electrical problems, going pitch black. Warnings now being sent all across the country in Iraq, especially for Americans who are staying there. And once again, we're seeing more of a disastrous situation unfold where there's just Americans that seem like they were caught off guard by the latest strikes in Iran, not warned by our government at all, it seems like. And now, for the ones that are in Iraq, our government has come out and said, hey, yeah, there's a reason why Iraq's pitch black now. They're kind of being struck by Iranian missiles, and there's just a war we've decided to wage in the Middle East again. So we think it's in your best interest, Americans in Iraq, to leave the country by any means necessary and as quick as you can. As far as how to do that, well, we can't help you. We can't really give you any we can't really give you any advice. But yeah, just get out of Iraq is basically the sentiment, the messaging going on there. And that was just about an hour ago that occurred. The news story hitting there. Iraq just pitch black, I guess. So this is just a mess for this administration now. And it keeps, the picture keeps building up. It keeps building up, this picture of just a general unpreparedness when it comes to this administration, and a general level of just lack of thoughtfulness before waging this war. And the messaging behind all of this now has been brutal. They don't know what to say anymore. You listen to Pete Hegseth, and it's a war. You listen to Mark Wayne Mullen, it's not a war. They can't make up their mind, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And I went into this a little bit last night when it comes to what we're seeing this year for what's on the horizon with the midterms and the Democrat Party. The truth of the matter is, I think there's almost no way around this other than to say it out loud. Trump is probably, maybe, being set up by a lot of his own party members, I think, for impeachment. I started to suspect this when the Venezuelan boats were being blown up. I didn't care about those, never have. I actually really applaud what we did in Venezuela. I said from the start, I thought it was a great operation, very successful, the right kind of foreign policy that we want to see. I'm a big Monroe Doctrine guy, right? So I was in favor of it. For a whole host of different reasons, and I broke down every single reason. I broke down the fact that China had a presence in Venezuela. We can and should take the oil from Venezuela. And, Nicolas Maduro's no saint, so I was never going to feel sorry for him anyway. It's our Western Hemisphere. So I was in favor of that, never cared about it, never referred to those boats as fishing boats. They had 3 outboard motors on them that are, $75,000 a piece. Venezuelan humble fishermen do not they do not pay for those kind of motors. They don't have boats like that. I think it's idiotic. But the fact of the matter is the Democrats don't care about that stuff. They've made it very clear from the start that if they seize control of the House this year, their one and only goal is to impeach President Trump and his cabinet officials. So they're going to do that. And at this point, by the way, I am so done with this administration that I'm at a point now where I don't care how any of it transpires. I don't care how any of it unfolds. If Trump gets impeached, I don't give a shit. If he gets impeached out of office, I don't give a shit. Okay? We're just at that point now. And that's why I put in the thumbnail even for this live. The mandate has been forfeited. You have to be honest with yourselves at this point. It's been forfeited. Everything that Trump ran on, every promise that he made, has been violated or broken in some way, shape, or form for the most part. All of the major ones, at least. I point this out all the time, and I will continue to point this out. I'll even say it this way tonight, because I've been pointing out the lack of deep state arrests at the hands of this DOJ, right? Well, here's how I'm going to point this out tonight. Not only have we had no deep state arrests, 0, but now we've had 6 Americans get killed for an Israeli war. So now the numbers are working against this Trump administration even less favorably. 6 Americans dead for a foreign Middle East war that we were promised wouldn't happen. Meanwhile, on our own home front, in our own domestic American country, where we demand justice, we literally voted for Trump for justice and no new wars. We're getting the opposite on both. We are getting no justice, no deep state arrests, and I have some Trump DOJ news that I'm going to share towards the end of this stream, centered around Pam Bondi, and more of her failures in this Department of Justice, for that matter, because they keep tallying up. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. There's been several breaking news stories centered around that, actually. So that's going to be something that I talk about. And on top of that, on this war front here in Iran now, we have some news that's come in. Several different news stories have come in. The first one, and you'll have to forgive me, I'm on a walk, so I don't ever script my streams, but I usually bullet point some key talking points here. This is all being done from memory because I just wanted to go for a walk. It's so nice out. The Kurds, the Iranian Kurds, in Iraq now. Iraq's been struck by Iran several times, and some news broke today that we are apparently, because we never learn, we are apparently considering, the Trump administration that is considering funding the Iranian Kurds and providing them with weapons in order to use them in this now Middle East hornet's nest of a war that we have once again stirred up in that region. That never works. So, just like in the past, we have decided to be Israel's little bitch. We've decided to go to war for Israel because they deem it so, they deem it necessary, and we, for whatever reason, decide to listen to them and never question them. And then, just like in the past, we've also decided to look at a group that could possibly turn extreme, definitely isn't a guaranteed ally, and seems like a group of collective radicals, and we've decided, hey, let's give them, let's decide, this is up in the air, so it's not concrete in the administration. Trump's weighing his options. But we've decided, in all honesty, well, hey, let's give those people some weapons. Hey, Glenn, if you're still in the chat, James Palmer needs to be deported. I prefer not to get my hands too dirty with people who are beneath me. Not that he's not beneath you either, Glenn, but I don't really like touching swine, you know what I mean? Anyways, the fact of the matter is we haven't learned any of our lessons, right? We're going to be possibly arming people now, the Iranian Kurds, right? So we're going to we've not only have we decided, let's just listen to Israel, let's just do their bidding, let's just sacrifice American lives, but also, yeah, hurry up, Glenn. Glenn, I'm not paying you. Well, actually, Glenn, I'm not paying you at all, but I didn't promote you to moderator for you to do free work for me and then not get results. You may not be getting paid, Glenn, but I expect results. I want to see James Palmer. I want to see his face introduced to the concrete. I want to see ICE agents all over him. I want to see him shackled, sent to Alligator Alcatraz, deported with nothing but the clothing on his back, like the swine that he is, Glenn. James Palmer played for the Baltimore Orioles. There he is. He's gone. James Palmer, you've been deported. James Palmer, if you'd like to regain access to American Advocates, feel free to drop a $100 tariff super chat, and we will promptly allow you to re-enter American Advocates, but it will cost you $100 in the form of a super chat tariff. If you're not willing to do that, James Palmer, you are permanently deported, and you will never be welcomed back into the first world YouTube channel that is American Advocates. Farewell, James Palmer, you scum swine. Anyways, this is the moral of the story here. We're considering funding the Kurds. We haven't learned a single lesson throughout history. Everything I've been talking about on this channel when it comes to regime change and how we're doing a regime change war now. Trump is skating on thin ice when it comes to this topic, right? Everything about this is just unfolding to be the same mess and the same history on repeat. And worse yet, the worst part about this is history on repeat that's not even ancient history. It's not like you can even excuse this as, 1,500-year-old history that people aren't aware of. You just need to rewind literally 20 years to understand why all of this is a bad idea. Let's go back 22 years to the Iraq War, where we were suckered into it off of faulty intelligence, proven faulty intelligence. We were told they had weapons of mass destruction, right? So we entered the Iraq War. Who benefits from that? Israel. What do? We sacrifice American blood and spend American dollars to do this war. By the way, $6 trillion total dollars. It was $2 trillion, I believe, originally, and then we decided, oh man, we got to keep fighting in Iraq. Let's just go $6 trillion total in debt because Israel said we have to. Let's shed the lives of thousands of U.S. soldiers. How many has Israel given for the Iraq War? None. So there's that. Then on top of it, while we're in the Middle East all throughout the 2000s, we decide, let's start funding some of these little these little radical groups in the Middle East. Let's just give them weapons and see what happens. It's kind of the indigenous Indian strategy, really. And how did that pan out for us? Disastrously so. How has regime change panned out for us in the Middle East since the 2000s? Disastrously so. None of it works, and yet here we are, neoconservatives shining bright in this Trump administration still. What's the difference at this point, I ask you, between Donald Trump and Jeb Bush? Why at this point even bother voting for anybody who runs like Trump? Why not just vote for any good old conservative boy? Hell, let's make Ted Cruz our president in 2028. At this point, it really wouldn't make much of a difference, would it? Right? So that's some of the news coming in right now. Iraq, a blackout, complete blackout in Iraq. Americans there are semi-stranded. And I went over the article last night as well when it comes to the Americans who were just not given any notice at all about Iran being struck by us in Israel. These Americans that are in Israel right now, according to the reports that I was reading, and of course a little bit of exegesis going on the articles on my part and looking into it and reading into it a little bit, essentially what's happening in Israel with the Americans, all of Trump's friends, in the form of high-profile reporters, were evacuated out of Israel on emergency flights, it seems, according to the reports I'm reading. But the everyday Goyim Americans who are in Israel, well, they weren't notified of this. They weren't given advance warning, mainly because, of course, we were forced into this war by Israel, as admitted by Marco Rubio and Speaker Mike Johnson. So it was all done on short notice with no planning, and Americans there in Israel right now are pretty much royally fucked. They're being told essentially by the Israeli government, it seems, well, we have bunkers for the Israeli people here, but it's not for you. And the U.S. Israel embassies are also telling Americans, we can't really help you. There's nothing we can do for you. We might be able to get a bus. We might be able to get a bus here soon so we can get you out of our country and maybe to like Egypt or something, and then you're free to pay for your own commercial flight home if you're able to. But if you're not, well, you're on your own. We've had reporters now. Owen Schroyer, I think, was one of them. I've been watching his stuff a little bit more lately. as well as I think somebody else, They've called Marco Rubio's office as well as the U.S. Israel Embassy, and they've been greeted both times, I believe, by similar voicemails, answering machines, basically saying, if you're calling because you're stranded, and something like this, it's not verbatim, if you're calling because you're stranded in Israel during the new Middle East war, well, we can't help you. Please hang up now. That's lovely. This is what it means to be an American in 2026, and it is the sad reality of it. And it's a topic, like I said, that I was not super aware of at the start of this channel last March. Started becoming more aware of it all throughout last year, of course. I grew up under an uncle who was a mailman, so he was somewhat postal sometimes, but very funny, very, very good guy, and very aware. He was talking about this stuff all the time. We heard all of the 9/11 conspiracy theories back then, and, my instincts, even when I used to hear it as a kid, I was like, yeah, it sounds interesting. But we also kind of used to just laugh it off. And now it turns out my mailman uncle, who passed away many years ago, he was probably correct. It's funny how the world works. And all throughout last year, being forced to pay attention to politics more. I created this channel to force myself to pay attention to politics more. I created this channel to embrace politics more. I've always been a political kind of person, but I tried to put that side of myself away in my 20s because I had other dreams and aspirations that I wanted to go after, and I realized politics are divisive. And I decided, you know what, I can't keep doing that anymore. And I created this channel last year. Trump was on a roll. He was killing it. And I was like, man, I want to just talk about politics. I was excited. I was amped up. And, very quickly throughout all of last year, from paying attention and seeing what was happening, I realized this Trump administration was going south. And then looking into reasons, why that's happening, why this Trump administration just started taking a turn for the worst, why it seemed like Trump was turning on a dime, making a 180-degree turn on a dime all of a sudden. I started looking at the money. I started looking at the politics. I started looking at foreign affairs. I started looking at what was happening. And I noticed a lot of different stuff, a lot of different patterns. And I realized, this is the truth of it. The people who are always complaining about the foreign interference in our government are correct. I think there's no way around that at this point in time. So this is just the reality of what it means to be an American in 2026. And as said by Jeffrey Epstein himself and the people emailing him in the Epstein files, the ones that we've gotten anyway, we are the foolish, stupid goyim, right? And we have to start deciding what we want to do about that for the future of our elections. We have to start really taking a critical look at our politics and our system. I am a social and fiscal conservative, right? I did vote for Trump. But we have to start taking a step back and taking a look at the system and realizing nobody's representing us. And there are a few people rising up right now that give me hope. James Fish back in Florida, and then sadly overseas is the next best example, in my opinion. Rupert Lowe for the Restore Britain Party. Globally, you are seeing some resistance rise up. Thomas Massie is half and half in my mind. I do like him, but he is annoying, and I don't think he's going to be the hero that we need. But I'm glad he exists. I'm glad he's there to at least defy a lot of the corruption in the GOP party. Whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene just kind of quit. She threw in the towel. But we have to take a step back and really, we have to think about, as conservatives, especially within the Conservative Party, we have to decide what we want to do about this. And I saw a tweet today from Nick Fuentes. I haven't watched a whole lot of his content. I've seen clips on X, and every time I listen to him on X, I do realize I'm like, this kid, I guess I'll call him a kid. He's only like a few years younger than me. I think he's like 4 years younger than me. When I listen to him, compared to what I've been told about him, I realize he's pretty smart. And I actually feel kind of vindicated when I listen to him on these clips on X that I'm starting to see more of, because it's a lot of stuff I'm saying. Not always. Sometimes I've heard some stuff I definitely disagree with. But today is a good example of that, what I saw from him today, where he's maybe taking it too far, in my opinion. I hate to sound like a pussy, but there are some lines I draw. One of those would be voting Democrat. But Nick Fuentes is kind of sharing in the collective thought of what I think a lot of conservative youth are, conservative men, when it comes to allowing this GOP party to fail. Something I've been preaching about on this channel now for quite a few months, because ultimately it was a lesson that I learned during the Biden administration, something that I told a lot of my personal friends when Biden was getting elected. After my friends and I went out and bought a bunch of guns in 2020 after the election, I said, you know what? 4 years of Democrat rule will wind up being really good for this nation potentially. It will force people to wake up. It will force them to understand what the Democrat Party stands for, and it will force them to determine if they want to keep voting for that. Fast forward, Trump dominates in the election outright, winning the popular vote, the Electoral College, all 7 swing states. We've heard the spiel from him. Every single state in America shifted more to the right in the 2024 November election. So I was right, and my friends I told this to agreed with me at the time, as worried as they were about Biden, right? We endured through COVID. We saw all the pandemic bullshit. We saw the tyranny. We saw all the nonsense. We saw the censorship, all of it. I experienced the censorship firsthand. I didn't even have a YouTube channel back then, but I was posting myself, resisting all of the COVID crap on my Instagram, and it flagged all of my stuff and it deleted my post for me, which I had no control over. So I experienced it. And so that's the result we got because of that. And it was good for us in the long run, technically. It forced people to change their perspective. Now it's the GOP party's turn. And I do not agree with Nick Fuentes on voting Democrat because I draw the line on their principles. As a white American man who's proud to be an American, I am a Christian nationalist conservative. There's no way in good consciousness I could ever checkmark any Democrat's name. They're just straight up against my interests. However, it is refreshing to see somebody who's infinitely more popular than I am, Nick Fuentes, that is, collectively. It's refreshing to see that. It's refreshing to see there's other people out there that understand this and understand what we have to do, I think, in 2026. Not in 2028, hopefully, but in the short term, a devastating loss for this party would be the most beneficial thing I think we could do, because it's the wake-up call that would be needed outright. And that's kind of what he's getting at. He takes it a little further than I do. Like I said, I will not vote Democrat, but to allow this GOP to fail in 2026 and to allow all of the consequences that will come as a result of that, I think it could be the wake-up call this party needs, and I think it could ultimately wind up encouraging a lot more consistent and appropriate and beneficial GOP candidates to rise up, because that's really what we need. We need better candidates. We need like 699 more James Fishbacks to rise up in this country and run for positions in Congress, the Senate, governors, mayors even, etc. And that's really what this party needs. Excuse me. It's not about voting Democrat. I disagree with Nick Fuentes on that. I will never vote Democrat. I'm not for abortion. I'm not for censorship. I'm not for any of that shit. I'm not for transgender bullshit. There's 2 genders. A baby's life starts at conception. I am a Christian nationalist. There's just no way I'll ever vote Democrat. But to allow the Democrats to win, I always kind of compare it to, I guess in a nerdy way, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, Star Wars. The prophecy's been misread with him, right? And it's all about how he's going to bring back balance to the Force. And what the Jedi don't understand is they're corrupted too in that movie. They're too politically involved, which they're not supposed to be. And as a result, they've been tainted by politics, and they're not really fulfilling their purpose. And so Anakin, in truth, has to kill all of them, and then he kills the Emperor and balances out the Force as a result. I know it's a nerdy comparison, but bear with me on it, because what I'm essentially saying is the GOP needs to be metaphorically burned to the ground at this point. It's full of nonsense. It's full of absolute warmongering neocons. It's full of people who don't represent us, we the people. They've completely lost the plot. This administration has forfeited its mandate. Trump understands what it means to be a populist, and that's how you know what he's doing right now is completely intentional. He knows better. There's no excusing this. all Republicans right now, all the MAGA cheerleaders are trying to excuse this every step of the way. They're moving the goalpost on what the definition of a war is. They're moving the goalpost on what's acceptable in the confines of this strike on Iran, right? It's now shifted to, well, so long as boots don't go on the ground, then I guess I'm okay with it. I'm not okay with it, okay? Summer last year, I wasn't completely where I'm at now. Summer last year, I was one of the I was saying turn Iran into a parking lot, because at the end of the day, I'm not a Muslim advocate. I'm an American advocate, and I'm a Christian nationalist. So I was one of those people, and so I understand where people are coming from. And to some degree, war is exciting for a lot of people. 25% of my being loves the idea of us being able to kill 49 of the Iranian regime leaders in 6 days. I like that. A part of my being like that. But 75% of me looks at it logically and understands this war is costing us now billions of dollars with no end in sight. And the 4 to 5 weeks that they give us as a timeline is bullshit. There's no way to predict the duration of this war. We don't know how long it will last. And that leads me into the second article I read today that I wanted to discuss. Israel coming out and making statements, for instance, about the newly elected Supreme Leader of Iran, the newly nominated Supreme Leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei's son, Mojtaba Ali or Mojtaba Khamenei, Ali Khamenei's son. Israel's now saying, honestly, that it really doesn't matter who they place in that position. They will continue to strike and attack Iran and kill their leaders until they're satisfied with what the situation in Iran looks like. So Trump and his administration, and I know, guys, I see the chats too. I'm usually better about reading chat, but I'm just monologuing like a motherfucker right now. But there's just a lot to talk about. I will look at your guys' chats in a second, though. Let me finish this point. We have, once again, just like how Israel kind of forced our hand here, it seems, according to Marco Rubio and Speaker Mike Johnson, they openly admitted it, I think intentionally, and then Trump tried to refute it. They openly admitted Israel basically was going to strike Iran first, so we decided to strike them. It's kind of the same thing we're about to be seeing here, in my opinion, I think, in a few weeks. This administration's trying to put a time limit on this regime change war, and which they refuse to call it as such. And they're trying to say it's 4 to 5 weeks, and then we're out. I don't buy that. And what we're seeing now story-wise, what we're seeing now from these articles popping up, all the breaking news, Israel saying we're going to keep striking Iran because we're not satisfied with the leadership that's attempting to rise up. Understand something. The Iranian regime currently there has like over 1 million soldiers. This could go on forever then. It could be a forever war. And Trump even acknowledges that, Trump even acknowledges that he wants it to be 4 to 5 weeks, but he did say in the same breath, he said, but we have the means to go on, honestly, forever. We could just keep going. So the bottom line is there doesn't seem to be an end in sight, and I don't buy the timeline. And Trump's in a world of trouble. The War Powers Act could be violated here. I covered that yesterday as well. And I think I made a mistake in how I covered it. Technically, Trump can order a strike if what we're doing is deemed as protecting America, if Iran's a threat to us. But I've looked into the War Powers Act a little bit more. I read a little bit more of it today. I believe, actually, that Trump could be in jeopardy of being impeached from this because I believe that some of the requirements, according to what I was reading, was Iran never struck us. And I've been looking at Iran's history, and they've actually, I think, according to everything I've looked at, Iran's never struck first from everything I've been reading. So there's a lot going on. Israel's going to keep extending this because it benefits them. It serves their interests. We're there now. We're pretty much all in. They're trying to say this is not a war right now, but it's going to turn into one. I think we all know it. And this administration is not ruling out boots on the ground. They openly said they won't rule it out. And I saw an article today talking about how jobs are now being listed to collect and gather bodies. So it seems like they're planning on something pretty catastrophic happening. I'll take a look at some chats. I want to keep talking about this, obviously, and get into the Trump DOJ and some of its failures in just a second here. But let's see what's going on here. Lots of children in the chat, says Bold as a Lion. Hey, Bold as a Lion, I remember you. You're the one that you're conflicted about me because you like some of my views, and then I'll say stuff like ICE should go door to door and we should revoke citizenship, and you're like, man, what the fuck? I remember you. It's pretty funny interactions with you. Welcome to the chat again, Bold as a Lion. Good to have you back, though. Your belief don't mean jack, says Patrick Barrett. Okay, man. You sound like you have a bit of repressed rage, like a little bit of a repressed anger in you. Hopefully your wife's fucking you good. You need to get that out of your system, dude. Iran is not Kuwait. Trump is a genius. Okay. Yeah. Hey, we got to be nice to the boomers like Patrick Barrett. Their lives they're in the autumn of their lives. You know, they've lived a long, greedy life of sucking this country dry and selling our birthright overseas, and you know, taking us for everything we're worth, buying 2 homes. You know, they just love the idea of Muslims being killed. They don't care why. You know, they don't care what effect it has on this country, nor should they. Honestly, their lives are coming to an end. So I don't have much to say to you, Patrick Barrett. You go on with your boomer life and enjoy retirement. Just sit there and smile. Enjoy what you have, knowing that no other generation under you will have it. Let's see what else. Anything worthwhile, or is it Glenn? Are you still here? 2009 lifeguards here. Thank you. Thank God. Keep on with the monologue. You're doing fine. Thank you. Appreciate that, lifeguard. Thank you so much. Yeah. See, there's at least somebody useful in chat here. Bold as a Lion, he says, Patrick, Trump isn't putting America first at all. Definitely not with this war. Yeah. There's nothing about this war that's America first. Thomas Knapp says, good, Islam is evil. Yeah, I'm not here to disagree with that. I've already stated that several times. It's almost to a point now where I'm not going to continue to state it, because it gets to a point where the bottom line is I'm not going to continually disqualify my statements or put little preemptive kind of statements on them to make you guys feel more comfortable with what I'm saying. Obviously, I view Islam as a demonic and evil religion, but I also just view the Middle East as a hellhole in general. You know, at the end of the day, we have to understand something. Iran's a foreign country. Israel's a foreign country. They're both foreign countries. So, you know, the whole idea of what I talk about all the time here, the Monroe Doctrine and the Western Hemisphere being our foreign policy, it would serve our interests much more efficiently, much better if we just learned how to stay out of that region and let it just burn. Let that region just burn. I don't give a fuck about that region. I don't care about any of the people in it. They're not Americans. I only care about Americans. This is American advocates, not Iran advocates, not Persian advocates, not Israel advocates, American advocates. I want all of my fellow Americans to actually be able to obtain, reach, and live the American dream. And that dream has been killed, and we can get it back, but we have apparently not elected anyone capable of getting it back. They're only capable of fulfilling the dreams and wishes of people who don't live here, people across the seas in other countries. That's what it's all about. You know, don't speak out against this war. Don't you understand, silly American who can barely afford to live, who's experiencing grocery hikes? Gas hasn't gotten any cheaper since Trump took office. You silly, stupid American. You fucking take your 50-year mortgage, you bitch, and you enslave yourself in debt for one home for 50 years. You'll take what we give you while the housing market prices continue to rise. You'll take what we give you while we possibly free the Persians at the cost of what will absolutely be tens or hundreds of billions of dollars. And by the way, the Persians might not even wind up being free, because there's over 1 million Iranian regime soldiers in Iran, and we can't possibly fight all of them in a short duration. But the possibility of Persians being freed from tyranny should apparently excite us Americans, us everyday Americans, enough to where we wouldn't dare think about criticizing these actions. That is all horse shit. And I don't care who's in office. Actually, here's the sad reality of this. For the longest time, I would always entertain in my chats the chats that would come in, but at least he's not Kamala. And you know what? That's mostly true. But in this case, if he was Kamala, I have a hunch this war wouldn't be happening. And so for the first time, I'll go on record and I'll state that if this was Kamala, this war probably wouldn't be happening. Kamala Harris actually, Kamala Harris actually wouldn't nominate or pick Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, the governor, because he's a Jew. She picked Tim Walz instead. She knew she needed a white boy to represent her, to make her more electable with the majority population here in America, the ever-shrinking majority population. But she would not pick Josh Shapiro because he's a Jew. And this is kind of the ass backwardness of our politics here in America. I'm getting back in my car. My home, I mean, not my, sorry, my home. This is my home. I'm homeless. I live in my car. This is the ass backwardness of our politics here in America. 78% of Jews in America voted for Kamala Harris. AIPAC winds up contributing most of its money. Obviously, it runs advertisements. We all know it can only donate $5,000 per candidate per election. AIPAC doesn't contribute that much. And even through their super PAC, all that money goes towards advertising for their campaigns. Bottom line, AIPAC and its super PAC contributed $127 million in 2024 towards our American political party, our American political system. 58.1% of that money went towards Democrat primaries. So you have American Jews that vote Democrat by a margin of 70 to 80% depending on the election and depending on the candidate. In Kamala Harris's case, some reports say it was 80%, others say 78%. The vast majority, bottom line, more than 3/4 of them. You have AIPAC, which funds more Democrats. On the flip side, you have the Democrat Party, which hates Jewish people. The Democrats don't even like them. And the Jews support the Democrats. Then you have the Republican Party and the Jewish super PACs. They don't like Trump. Mark Levin is a kook, and Mark Levin hated Trump. Ben Shapiro hated Trump. They were basically never Trumpers, right? And the Jewish Americans don't vote Republican. Not by the vast majority, at least. If only 22% of them voted for Trump, or probably even less than that, for whatever reason, our Republican Party is the sycophantic Israel worshipers. It's the Republicans that are hell-bent on doing Israel's bidding. And so it's so ass backwards. And even when you split up the two different obvious religions in the Middle East, Judaism and Islam, it's the Muslims that are actually conservative, but they come here and vote liberal. You know, it's like, it's the most backwards shit that you'll ever, when you pay attention to it all and you know all of the data and the statistics and facts behind it, you just realize how backwards all of this is. It defies logic, which is why it's mind-blowing to me that Trump has committed to this. And make no mistake about this, he had committed to a Middle East war on Israel's behalf when only 22% of American Jews voted for him. That's mind-numbing. Meanwhile, the rest of us who voted for President Donald Trump, and we voted for him, by the way, for what again? Border security, mass deportations, cost of living, deep state arrests, the Epstein files being released. At least young people wanted that. We wanted DOJ cuts. We wanted waste, fraud, and corruption exposed and prosecuted. All of that. Have we gotten any of that? The answer's no. Where's the border wall that he promised from his first term? It's not built, it's not being built, and it's never going to be built. Let's just be real. Where's the mass deportations? Well, it looked like they were starting off strong, didn't it? But then what wound up happening? Too suicidally empathetic. Suicidal empathy is the term, right? For people that are so empathetic that it's to their own detriment. Two of these motherfuckers, Alex Preddy and Renee Good, two white people, decided that they wanted to give their lives up in their state of Minnesota for Somalians. You don't see Somalians protesting in the street over their death either, because guess what? They don't give a shit about them. But they gave their lives for these people, right? And all of a sudden, that's apparently all it takes if you're against the a Republican administration. You just need two tragedies to occur. And all of a sudden, the massive agenda that is mass deportations, the idea of removing all of these people that do not belong in this country, all of a sudden goes right out the window. ICE is being pulled out of Minnesota at a massive scale. They're only leaving behind a few agents so that those agents can stay behind and wait for phone calls from the state jails and prisons. If a violent illegal immigrant happens to be arrested, then they'll be deported. because this administration has shifted to the cop-out response. It's gone from mass deportations, everyone's getting deported who's here illegally, to all of a sudden just the violent ones, just the worst of the worst. Trump even saying, I told the farmers, I told ICE, you gotta go easy on our farmers. They need the illegal immigrants. Don't hire Americans to help out on the farms. Don't pay Americans what they're worth when you can just hire illegal immigrants for slave labor at $3 an hour. That's what will keep our produce costs down at least. So we're not getting mass deportations. The border wall's hasn't been built. Our cost of living is not getting better. I don't care what anybody says. The economic data doesn't back that. Cost of living did increase year over year, and our inflation has cooled somewhat, granted, but the cost of living has not gotten better. I've noticed subjectively and anecdotally prices in my own grocery store rising. I go grocery shopping for fresh ingredients every other day. So I notice the prices literally week by week, and those prices are going up right now. So our cost of living is not getting better. The housing market is not getting better. I'm currently dealing with the housing market, actually, so I know, and it's very competitive. Houses are selling for way more than what they're worth, and it's not getting better. And I am a typical young millennial who can't get a home. On top of, that's why I live in my car. No, I'm just kidding. I don't live in my car, but so that's not getting better. And where's the deep state arrests? Well, those aren't coming either. And Pam Bondi's not going to deliver on those. She's just not. She doesn't give a shit. So we're not getting any of that. And then the one thing we were told for sure we wouldn't get under this Trump administration, new wars, we're now getting. Isn't it funny how that works? This is neoconservatism, and this is why the GOP party must be completely dismantled. They must be allowed to lose, and they must be completely dismantled. We must pull all support for these people. We do not owe them our votes. They owe it to us to win our votes. That's what every election is about. Every election is a question, essentially. An election is not an opportunity for people like us to toe the party line. An election is the opportunity for us, the voters, to question if the representatives in office who are representing us that we voted for are doing a good enough job to continue receiving our support. The answer in this case, in this midterm election, 2026, widely should be a resounding no. That's the bottom line here. Now I'll take a look at some more chats. Stop everything, first of all. Did I see a super chat come in? Let me scroll right up to that. I'll scroll past all the Goyim free chats from you cheap-ass cheapskates who are probably saying stupid stuff I don't want to read anyway, and get right to, hey, Ed. Well, hey, thank you, Ed. You know, Ed, I'm not sure what your deal is in my chats here, if you're an op or if you're on my side. Sometimes I feel like you're either being playfully sarcastic with me or standing against me on stuff. But I do appreciate the 99-cent super chat, Ed. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you. God bless you. Thank you so much. We are living the American dream, says the real stepper. Yeah, if you're old, you're living the American dream. If you're 70 years old, you turn on Fox News and they show you videos of cats playing in a box. It's, some viral cat video on TikTok that you'd never see otherwise because you don't even know what the fuck TikTok is because you're a fucking 70-year-old boomer. So Fox News distracts you with that. Then they say, oh, by the way, the bad guys in Iran were all killed today. So you go, oh, yay, oh, yay. This is wonderful. Trump's killing all the bad guys. He's lowering my taxes and killing all the bad guys. This is great news. And my stock portfolio's up, and I'm pulling out the equity of my home that I bought in 1983 for $18,500. I'm pulling out the equity. It's now worth $570,000. I'm pulling all of that out to buy a nice second home in Texas or Arizona. Yay! Wow, what a golden age. And then meanwhile, for the rest of us, millennials, Gen Z, well, good luck, I guess. Good luck. Will we be retiring ever? No. We'll be working like the goyim we are to fund more of this shit on Israel's behalf. And our government officials, if we don't reform our political systems now, it's just going to keep happening. This is a multi-decade long planned event. You have to understand this. Because it's not going to happen overnight. But the plan really is the greater Israel region, and they will stop at nothing to fulfill that plan. And I can't even blame them. I'm not even mad at Israel. Why wouldn't they act in their own best interest? Why wouldn't they meddle in our politics if we're going to allow it? It's our fault. It's America's fault for this. It's our politicians' fault. Every country is going to act in its own best interest, apparently, except for America. We're the only country, for some reason, that seems to have this sort of, they say every race has its own problems, right? 13% of the population commits 50% of the crimes, right? Heard that statistic before about the blacks, right? Well, guess what white people struggle with, which of course America predominantly is and was founded as an extension of the European countries, right? Britain, etc. Our problem apparently is we become successful and then we feel guilty about it. And we decide, oh man, we should really self-sabotage now and spread out all of our success to everybody else except for us. I am so sick of that. And so who am I mad at here, truthfully, in all honesty? I'm mad at our American politicians. I'm mad at our country as a whole for allowing this shit. Of course Israel wants nuclear power. They got it. Of course they want to expand. They're getting it. Of course they wanted regime change in Iran. They're getting it. I'll never actually even blame them for that. Everyone can be mad at them, and I understand why they're mad at them. And, I'm not delighted in this at the end of the day. Yes, they are technically the problem at this point when it comes to our politics, but who's fucking allowing this? Well, at the end of the day, our country, our politicians, and honestly, we the people, which is why I am advocating, apparently, and so are other much more popular streamers out there, like Nick Fuentes now I saw today talking about voting Democrat. I don't advocate we vote Democrat, but I advocate don't vote conservative. Vote third party. Vote for someone who's actually running on your best interest, someone you can at least feel out and sense is genuine. I sense that in James Fishback. Vote for people like that or don't vote at all. And let this GOP party burn, metaphorically. I've been advocating for that. And I like seeing other young influencers that are much more popular than me, like Nick Fuentes. Apparently he's advocating for that. I just think and I hate sounding like a pussy. I usually don't say people are going too far, but voting Democrats that's just gross. I wouldn't advocate we go that far because fuck the Democrats. But that's the bottom line. I am mad at America for we cannot continue to allow this. It's really what it comes down to. And it's extreme, and it makes people uncomfortable to say that, right? People are like, don't you understand? Because here's the argument. They're going to say, don't you understand, if a Democrat gets in, things are going to be more expensive. If a Democrat gets in, the border is going to be a problem again. Trump sealed off the border, at least. He did, by the way, granted. Give him his flowers where it's due. Don't you understand, if a Democrat gets in, it'll be transgender for everyone, and men will be playing in women's sports. Don't you understand, if a Democrat gets in, there won't be mass deportations. It'll be the opposite. And the bottom line is, whose fault is that? As well as, if a Democrat was in right now, we probably would not be in this war currently. Probably. Democrats have been bought out by Israel lobbies in the past as well, but I actually doubt we'd be in a war if Kamala Harris was president, for instance. Now, as far as everything else, yeah, it's kind of true. But you know whose fault this is going to wind up being, in all honesty? Once again, where's our border wall? This is why the border wall is so important, and it's not being built. And that's the bottom line. If it's not being built and a Democrat does get in, then yes, they're going to open the borders and illegal immigration is going to pour into this country. We need the border wall built. It's not happening. And so why does it even matter at this point is the real question. Why does it matter if this is what it looks like to vote conservative at this point in this country? Trump was supposed to be against all of this stuff. Neoconservatism. He was supposed to be acting in our best interest. He was supposed to be acting on the everyday American, right? If that's not going to happen, then what the fuck does it matter, honestly? What does it actually matter who gets in office? Biden raised prices 2020 to 2024, says Patrick Barrett. Yeah, let's be honest about something, too. It's time to actually call this out for what it is, Patrick Barrett. The reason why our economy got so bad during COVID was because of Trump. It got worse under Biden, and Biden didn't manage it correctly, so Biden's also to blame. But Trump was the one that was pro-vaccine, pro-shutdown. He initiated all of that stuff. The shutdowns are what tanked our economy. We forced businesses to either close or, to go on curfew. We forced people in a lot of states to stay inside. COVID was what radicalized me or started radicalizing me. I packed up my car. I packed up my car one day to move, and I said, you know, I can't, because the state that I was in during COVID, I was like, I can't handle this shit anymore. I'm done. I'm done with this bullshit, this Orwellian dystopian fucking world, right? But a lot of that started actually with Trump. And then Biden didn't do us any favors. You know, if a Republican was going to make it bad, a Democrat certainly was going to make it worse. And that's exactly what we saw. No surprises there. Biden, yes, 2022 inflation under Biden was unreal. But in all honesty, a lot of our economic problems due to COVID started because of Trump policies towards the end of his administration. So we got to call a spade here. We got to speak honestly about stuff. 2009 Lifeguard says, Ed can't afford $2 for text with a super chat. Yeah, hey, no worries. I still appreciate the 99 cents either way, so no worries. Buddy, are you delusional? Many Iran soldiers are surrendering. They already are giving up and lost hope. Yeah, that's not the case at all. If that was the case, then they wouldn't have selected Ali Khamenei's son to succeed him as the supreme leader. They're not going down without a fight. They keep launching drones and ballistic missiles. They've committed. Iran is committed to this. It's a massive country. It's full of tens of millions of, 90 million people total? The Iranian regime military, over 1 million strong. It's insanity. Bold as Lion says, question, have you seen the video of Trump admitting to being Jewish? I doubt very much Trump is actually Jewish. Trump says a lot of stuff in jest, and a lot of liberals fall for it, which is what makes him I have no patience for Trump's humor anymore currently because of this war, but it does make Trump a pretty funny guy sometimes. He says stuff on purpose. Democrats never have understood this about Trump. Some stuff is just completely said in jest to stir the pot. In the 1980s and early 90s, Iran tried to bomb with rental vans in the underground garage of the World Trade Centers, and they later did 9/11. Oh, Iran did 9/11 now? Oh, thank you for sharing. Thank you. Oh, wow. Thank you for that. Wow, that's Iran did 9/11. Wow. Is that a Japanese car? No. 2009 Lifeguard. Oh, but I do. Oh, come on, guys. I'm not going to read the infighting in the chats. Muriel Madelson financed Trump. Yeah, I know that. I literally have said that before, Olivia. You need to subscribe to American Advocates and start tuning in before you leave chats like that. Unless you're responding to some goy cow chatter in my chat. Because I've literally talked about that already. Because we, the people of the U.S., didn't care about their mini wars in their countries. Josh Shapiro served in the IDF. That's why Kamala Harris didn't pick Josh Shapiro as her running mate. Yeah. I think Donnie's playing both sides because of the Sampson option. I don't think you're taking the Sampson option into consideration, says Tall Neanderthal. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think Trump knows either. I think that's part of the problem with this regime change war. This is an unpredictable series of events that's now going to be happening. Nobody can predict what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen, right? There's no plan in place for any of this. This was not thought out very well. This was executed by Israel's request and basically done in a somewhat forceful manner. The same kind of strategies that we've seen in the past where they initiate and force our hand. So we didn't really even plan this out thoroughly. And there is no planning this out. This is the Middle East. And this is what a lot of our founding fathers sort of warned against without realizing it when it comes to the Monroe Doctrine and staying out of foreign affairs. This is a prominent reason why. I would say if there's 10 total possibilities, let's just pretend there's 10 total possibilities, outcomes for this, 9 out of 10 of them are going to be bad. This was an insane gamble by this Trump administration. And if it turns out good, then it could be good, of course. But it almost certainly won't be. And this was an insane gamble. And I mentioned this last night, why this bothers me so much as well. Not just because Trump knows what it means to be a populist, therefore by default knows what he's doing is not popular, which you can of course read into some of the statements he's made to deduce that, making statements like, I don't care about the polls anymore. He's just doing this. This is what Israel wants. They're going to get what they want, and he'll sacrifice This administration will sacrifice everything, including success in the midterms, to accomplish it. And that's what bothers me even more, because like I stated just a few minutes ago, we're not getting the mass deportations. He surrendered in Minnesota. And the reason why that was stated, honestly, by a lot of MAGA talking heads and MAGA cheerleader channels was because, well, Trump's playing the game with the midterms coming up. You know, he can't risk it. It's too unpopular now. We got to win back the moderates. We got to ease up on deportations. It's not favorable anymore. Midterms are coming. Republicans will get destroyed. So he's got to play the game, right? That's what we're told. And then when it comes to the Israel war, this is going to sink Republicans in the midterms, just so everyone understands that. Republicans are sunk for the midterms anyway. I'm already telling people don't vote Republican. And then, like I stated, I see Nick Fuentes now on X saying vote Democrat even. And some of his people will probably do that. So Republicans are sunk. They've tried their strategies already. They're going to be redrawing congressional district lines to influence the election. And I was originally for that last year. But now with what they're doing agenda-wise, this GOP neglecting us, not fulfilling any of their promises, not representing us, I don't even want them to win in 2026, and I don't see how they do. And the Trump administration apparently was taking midterms into consideration when it came to mass deportations, something we actually voted for. Even some Democrats agree with mass deportations. It was 60% popular when Trump took office, and they can't give us that because of midterms. But now midterms aren't a factor, apparently, when it comes to fighting in a foreign fucking war in the Middle East. All of a sudden, our opinions don't matter. This war is not popular. With the 55 and over crowd, it's pretty popular. But if you're under that, it's not popular. And they deserve to lose because of it. And I'll tell you what, I'll get a nice setup going for later on this year. I don't even like to think about November. I like to think about summer coming up. I can't wait to enjoy summer. We're already in spring. It's getting so warm. So I hate thinking about the election season this year. But I'll get a nice setup going. I'll go live from my computer and I'll celebrate the blue wave that's coming. Not because I'm looking forward to the results of that, not because I even want Democrats to win, but I just want Republicans to lose. And I want to see impeachment trials, and I want to see this administration dragged through the political system. I want to watch every GOP candidate that has failed me. I want to watch them suffer. And I want to suffer politically, of course, I should say, which is the truth behind that. That's all I mean. But I want their careers to be annihilated before my very eyes. I want them persecuted by the Democrats using our law to do so. Because they fucking deserve this at this point. How dare they betray us? And that's really where you should be at. And if you're in my chat right now and you're mad at me for talking like that, then fuck you. You're a pussy. And you're not an American. So that's my stance on that. Michigan Muslims thought he'd help them. Yeah. Well, and that's another great point, Olivia, too. Why is it? And this is a great point I ask a lot of the boomers that support this war. It's the Muslims that are a problem, and I kind of agree. I think our biggest problems, though, I think Muslims have dropped down on that list. If you had asked 13-year-old me, who's in high school, then I would have told you Muslims were the ultimate evil, and the Antichrist was going to return, and he was going to be a Muslim. And now I understand the world a lot differently. Muslims are a problem, yes. I am a Christian American nationalist, so yes, Muslims are a problem. And to be honest with you, I think it's more appropriate before people criticize Israel in the Middle East, you should go through a phase where you are aware of just how much Muslims have been a problem historically. If for Europeans, for Christians, for white people, that should be like mandatory. Because otherwise, if you just hate Israel, then you're not understanding the full picture. But the bottom line is, the biggest problem, in my opinion, my personal opinion, it's AI, by the way. And what's funny is today, Trump actually had a meeting centered around these companies that are now demanding more from our electrical grids. They're building data centers, and they're expecting the everyday American in true crony capitalism corporation standard kind of a method here. They expect Americans to foot the increased cost of the electricity bill on the grid in these towns where these data centers are being built to power AI. And Trump had a meeting to discuss this issue today, and guess what happened? Trump pretty much fell asleep during it. You can watch it in the videos. He's probably been staying up and pulling all-nighters because of this, Middle East fucking war that no one voted for. And so it's like, do we cut him slack? No, but that's probably the reason why. But he fell asleep. He pretty much was nodding off. And they're like, oh, well, we want to acknowledge that this could harm Americans, and Americans that live in the towns where these data centers are being built are experiencing a 30% increase in their electricity bill. And we propose that they wind up paying more of the cost for that rather than the everyday American footing the bill. Trump's just like, nodding off, like, leaning over. He's like, hey, how does this meeting that I'm in about data centers, how does this help Israel? Oh, it doesn't, sir. It doesn't? Okay. Goes right to bed, like that's the reality of it. AI is one of our biggest problems, honestly. I think collectively, as for the world, AI is the biggest problem in my opinion. And then after that, China. And then after that, you look at our politics, if you want to talk about domestically, and you look at APAC, you look at their super PACs, and you realize, the foreign meddling in our politics, not just Israel. We have big pharma, big tech, little tech, big agriculture, all this big money in our politics, massive problem. But yeah, that's what's going on, honestly. The most important issue of our time, AI, and Trump was asleep today for it. So, and yeah, and that was my main point, by the way, the Michigan Muslims. We can go fight the Muslims overseas because they're such a problem. But then Dearborn, Michigan, Dallas, Texas, can't deal with that. Can't deal with any of that. And then a Muslim man, after he strikes Iran, I believe it was in Austin, Texas, winds up doing a little bit of a shootout publicly. Totally predictable outcome, by the way. But because we haven't dealt with the problem here domestically, and we've chosen instead to, once again, take it overseas before they take it, the boomer logic. Well, we got to take the fight to them before they bring it to us. They're already here. Dearborn, Michigan is 52% Muslim. I have a whole playlist on the channel devoted to me covering Dearborn, Michigan. They're changing street names to Osama Siblani Way. They're telling white people who show up to town halls to protest those street names being changed. They're telling them that these white people, that this white guy that was doing it is apparently an Islamophobe who's no longer welcome in Dearborn, the city he grew up in. So they're already fucking here. They're already here. What are you talking about? Take the fight to them before they take it to us. They're here. They're colonizing some of our cities. And what's this administration doing about it? Nothing. They don't even talk about it. I am probably so behind on chats. Oh my God, I am. Yeah, let me scroll all the way up. Yeah, I agree with you, bold as a lion. When people say, but Biden, it's appropriate sometimes. On this channel, you'll hear me say, but Clinton, but Reagan, but H.W. Bush. So there's proper context there. It's, of course, important to talk about what Biden did and, more importantly, didn't do and how much he fucked shit up. So I'll say that even from time to time, too. But, I understand what you're saying, basically. It's in the context of them. They say that essentially to try to cut Trump some slack, and they shouldn't. Trump is in office now, and when we're talking about current events, it gets to a point where, but Biden nothing, he's gone. Yeah, Biden did, yeah, we know, thank you for that. Trump's doing this now. That's what we're talking, Trump's doing this now, okay? It's important to refer back to history, yes, but not as an excuse, so I'm with you on that, actually. Trump is keeping America safe, says Steve. Oh, okay, you believe that. I just went off on my spiel about Dearborn, Michigan and Dallas, Texas, but he's keeping America safe, yeah. Is Antifa being dealt with? No. Are we getting deep state arrests? No. He sure is keeping America safe, though, yeah. Wonderful. I don't think China is as strong as advertised. It probably isn't. But China wants, the problem with China is they have the potential to be. Their military probably isn't nearly as strong as advertised. I do agree with that, but they want to be, and they have the potential to be. And their mission statement is pretty much as such. They want to absorb, they want global dominance, China. So touch grass, bro. Says the Zen Master. Hey, I guess, Zen Master, if that's going to be your name, then I guess that's the most appropriate thing you could say. I won't even give you flack for it. Islam is inhumane, says Keystone Liberty. It is. It is. A lot of their practices are inhumane as well. Christians are in Iran too, says randomized NPC. They are. Yep. But I think you may be starting to get a clue about how corrupt Trump is. Depends on the context and what you're saying that. See, then you're laughing at Antifa. You mean Antifa? Antifa doesn't exist. They only have a flag and merchandise that they wear and like uniforms and stuff and organized riots. Antifa? Silly man, Antifa doesn't exist. Fuck off. Trump being corrupt. As far as Trump being corrupt, I guess it depends on what we're talking about. The only problem arrested these people is the judges let them go. Yeah, Thomas Knapp. That's another interesting one, right? The Trump DOJ. That's what else I promised to talk about in accordance with the title here, right? That's going to lead me right into discussing that because this Trump DOJ is severely under-delivering, And it really starts today with the news that broke. Nancy Mace, a Republican, leading the charge on this one, and officially, hang on, let me see if I should be able to pull up the article still. Oh, hopefully, did that cut out all the time while I was switching to the article? Hopefully not. Pam Bondi's been subpoenaed, and Nancy Mace is leading the charge. Pam Bondi will now be forced to go speak in front of a House committee in regards to the dilemma now that is the Epstein files. We were told that we would have the Epstein files released under this administration, and that was obviously before Trump realized how bad those files were. They fought every step of the way to not release them, and now we've had an act of Congress where every congressman and woman except for one voted in favor of the Epstein Files Transparency Act. So it flies through Senate back to Congress to be finalized, and then Trump was forced like a cuck to sign that act because there's no way he would ever fight that at that point. The image of him doing so would have been atrocious. So then he's forced like a cuck to sign it, and then of course takes credit for signing it because why wouldn't you, I guess? And that's Trump's motto: never admit defeat, always claim victory. But it was a defeating moment for this administration that tried so hard to prevent these files from being released. And then what winds up happening? Well, now it's congressional law that the Trump Department of Justice released the files in accordance with congressional law within 30 days as unredacted as possible. Only the victims' names should wind up being redacted. Come to find out, this administration apparently has declared, they haven't declared officially, but this administration certainly, it seems, considers some of the perpetrators to be victims of blackmail. And since they're victims of blackmail, they tried to redact their names. And in doing so, they seemingly forgot to redact to redact the perpetrators' names, I should say, because they're victims of blackmail. Well, in doing so, they got so distracted with that they left the actual true victims' names unredacted on several occasions. A complete disaster. And then on top of that, they've only given us what we believe, or what they say, is 50% of the Epstein files. So there's a whole half of the Epstein files missing, and many people believe, in all honesty, that it's more likely that we've only gotten a fraction of the Epstein files. When you hear stuff like there's 40 terabytes worth of hard drive space, hard drive space taken up by this stuff, does it really seem like we've gotten even 50% at that point? The answer to that is probably no. We've probably gotten less than that. And we were supposed to have gotten them all within 30 days. And it's been, I don't even know now, 90, 120. It's been months and we haven't gotten them. So Pam Bondi now is being subpoenaed in front of a House committee led by Republican Nancy Mace in a vote, I believe it was 24-19. Where she's being forced to do this. She's going to have a lot to answer for. And the even funnier part is the Dow Jones certainly now will not be at 50,000. So I wonder how Pam Bondi will deflect as the typical bitch that she is, the typical unaccountable, can't hold her to account for anything like any other woman, which is why they don't belong in politics at a large scale, women. They're always willing to blame everybody else. I'm sure we're going to have to hear more about Biden's guy, Merrick Garland. Well, why didn't Merrick Garland release all the Epstein files? She asked that like 40 times the last time she had to speak. speak. I'm sure that's all we're going to get this time, along with all of her pre-prepared dirt on all of the congressmen, like as if we're supposed to be shocked that all of them asking her questions have dirt in their closet too. And once again, it's why, honestly, the system needs to be metaphorically burnt to the ground. But the bottom line is that's all we're going to get out of this dumb bitch, Pam Bondi. We're going to get nothing but deflecting, because that's what women do. And this is going to be one of the most annoying things to go through, but it's needed. Pam Bondi, honestly, probably should be stripped of her position and probably needs to face charges of her own. I actually hope in my lifetime I get to see her go to prison. So she's in trouble, and even worse, more abysmal failures on this dumb broad's part, this idiotic fucking bitch in office, Pam Bondi. We can't get a single deep state arrest. Americans are dying in Iran now, and on top of it, this DOJ continues to fail. There was this story of this woman, another woman who lived in this case. She wasn't mag dumped in the face like Renee Good was. But she also was agitating ICE up in Minnesota, stalking them, following them around the town. She wound up hitting an ICE vehicle with her vehicle. She turned out to be some sort of feminist, liberal scumbag bitch. She's a open relationship, non-monogamous type, a slut, a fucking whore, like you'd expect her to be. And she was gloating about this. She winds up getting in trouble, right? And the Trump DOJ, of course, rushes to make a statement about this, where they basically say, if you do this to ICE, we will come after you. And so people were celebrating. We're like, oh, yeah, it's good. This bitch deserves it. Send her to prison. Send her to jail. Prosecute her. Well, they made it seem like that's what's going to happen. And then today, I guess she gets released. All charges dropped and dismissed by her state judge. And this DOJ has utterly failed to achieve justice once again. And now this bitch who hit this ICE vehicle is celebrating online. Oh, see, I told you guys. I told you so. Oh, they can't get me. They can't get me. She's celebrating it. Nothing's going to happen, in case you haven't figured it out yet, when it comes to this Trump DOJ. Worse, they just dropped the ball once again when it comes to the auto pen scandal. Trump has been pushing for that. He changed out Biden's photo, his portrait, with an auto pen picture. You know, like Trump he's big on this topic. And there probably is something there. But what does this DOJ do? They fail. They fail to get anything going for that. They failed with Comey. They failed with Letitia James. They don't talk about Adam Schiff. They're not talking about any of this stuff. And when they do, they set it up to fail. They appoint Lindsey Halligan erroneously, just so that the judge can throw out the mortgage fraud case for Letitia James and throw out the James Comey case. There's no deep state arrests. This DOJ is the worst DOJ I've ever lived through. And yeah, it's worse than Biden's DOJ. You want to know why? Because Biden's DOJ got results. Even if I didn't like the results, they got results. I say this all the time too. I am jealous of Democrats and how effective they are at wielding power. There's a lot of lessons the conservatives can learn by watching Democrats when they obtain power. And may it be so that after the midterms this year, we watch Democrats obtain some of that power back and use it against Republicans, because they don't have any power now and they're already winning. They're already usurping the Trump administration's agenda. And Trump, the only thing he's able to achieve apparently for us in 2026 is a Middle East war. And this is while Democrats are a minority party. And this is why voting for Republicans right now makes no sense. It means nothing. They do nothing. They don't like the power. They'd prefer to not have the power. And this is what we're going to get. And when Democrats actually get a taste of power back and take back the House in 2026, wait till you see what they do then. You think it's bad now? You think you're unhappy with this Trump administration now? Wait till Trump's hands are tied by Congress when it's majority Democrat again. Wait till you see what they do then. Watch and learn when that happens. And be envious. Be envious that it's not the cucked Republicans that can wield power that efficiently. This DOJ's terrible. We're not getting anything we promised. The DOJ will fail us. No deep state arrests. 6 Americans dead in Iran. That number's only going to go up. I don't even know who Hubert Humphrey is, Keystone. I need to look into that, because you said that last night too. Kane Battle says, I saw Epstein in an old music video earlier, completely at random from the 80s. I've never seen that, Kane. I also wonder why YouTube automatically hid that chat, because that's not even offensive. Very happy with Trump. I'm very happy with Trump, you moron. Good for you. Keep eating up the slop propaganda. Yeah, there's just, unfortunately, there's a lot of morons out there. Bait and hook outdoors. Great example. You can't comprehend it. It's not about Trump hating judges. The judges are too soft on crime. Heck, look at the guys that have been convicted of 8 felonies, went out and harmed another person. Yeah, the judges are a problem too. Yeah. And Trump listens to these judges whenever they invoke injunctions on him. He listens. He's just a soft little cuck. Justice delayed is justice denied, says Word Nerd. Amen. It's not about Trump or Bondi's fault they can't get a conviction. That's the damn judges. We need to get them out, says Marcy Block. Yeah? Yeah, really, we need to get the judges out. How about we just get a more effective DOJ? Why is it Biden's DOJ was so effective against the Trump administration? When I'm sure somebody like you, Mark Block, I'm sure you disagreed every step of the way during the Biden regime and what they did with weaponized lawfare. Yet, what did they achieve for their party? It's called they got results. They got results. I'm sick of the excuse of everything MAGA does for Trump now is to just excuse the inaction and the incompetency. We had a massive lead in Congress, and we had control of the Senate. You have to understand something here. The Republicans control everything. If a low-level district court judge can stop the president, whose fault is that? Does that mean that the judges are the president then? If so, why would I vote for a conservative ever again if they're just going to yield to a low-level district court judge? Why didn't Trump follow his hero, Andrew Jackson, and just fucking ignore the courts? A lot of presidents have done. Biden bragged about ignoring the Supreme Court. What was it about student loans, I think? Biden bragged about it. Yet here's Trump. Well, we'll abide by the courts. I'm a lawful man. I abide by the courts because at the end of the day, I want Americans to think I'm a virtuous man. Shut the fuck up. Just get the job done. I don't vote for people to be principled, to play by these principles that the Republicans do that only allow them to ever lose. It's time to play to win. Ignore the fucking courts. And if you have complete control of the political system, impeach the judges. You know what was stated, honestly, by Speaker Mike Johnson when we first took control of everything last year? He was asked directly about these judges because they were starting to become a problem then. And the question arose of impeaching the judges, or at least attempting to, and Mike Johnson ruled it out immediately. He said he chuckled at the idea. He said, no, I don't think we're going to be doing that. Why? If they're that much of a problem, why? It's because Republicans despise power. They're afraid of it. Pam Bondi's been having bad Botox injection disasters. I don't know. I try not to look at her face, so I don't understand. Olivia, you're just a bigot. All right, Olivia, go make me a fucking sandwich, will you? I'm starving. That Trump impression is funny as fuck. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. I have a lot of time to practice it because, in all honesty, I hear the man, like, ever since starting this channel, all I hear is Trump nowadays, obviously. I have to, like, I listen to what he says all the time, so the voice just kind of sticks with you. If you think Ukraine forced Russia to invade them, you're stupid. Who said that? What the fuck are you even talking about, you idiot? Not even talking about Ukraine. It's a uniparty. It's why nothing changes. Divide and conquer strategy. Why is it a uniparty, though? Bold as a line. First of all, I don't actually agree with that. Socially, it's not a uniparty. Socially, there are massive differences, right? And that's why I stated I don't agree with Nick Fuentes on voting Democrat. Though I agree on well, I don't even know if I agree with him. I don't know who's saying it first. I don't get to watch Nick Fuentes. I don't know when he goes live. Actually, funny story. I heard all this Nick Fuentes hype. I watched like a Tucker Carlson interview with him. I was like, he sounds pretty good. I'm gonna check him out on Rumble. I search for him. I see he's live. I click on a stream, and it was like fucking music and shit for like I had it up for like an hour and a half. It was like music and whatnot. I was like, where the fuck? What is this? So I clicked off of it, and then I see clips of him on X. So
And he goes as far as to say, vote Democrat. I don't go that far, but I certainly say don't vote at all. Don't vote Republican in the midterms. Let them fail, because it's the wake up call that might fix the party. We have till 2028, really, is truly what it is. We need a good conservative candidate in 2028. But if we prove them this year that we'll vote Republican no matter what they do, every major promise violated, and not getting anything we were promised, and then getting stuff we were promised wouldn't happen, and then we vote Republican and they somehow win in the midterms, disaster for this party. Sadly, that's just how it is. That's the truth. That would be a disaster. So that's just strategy, though. I've always been good with strategy, and that's just strategy, and it's nice to see other people talking about that. But as far as voting Democrat, I don't agree. Now, as far as it being a uniparty, socially, what I was getting at there, they're not, right? I am anti-abortion all the way. I think abortion is unacceptable in almost every single circumstance. And I don't play the exceptions rule. I don't address exceptions. I don't give a shit. I'm anti-abortion. What about rape? What about blah 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 blah? If the mother's life's at risk, I don't play the game. I just don't give a shit. Think about it, whatever you want. I don't really care. I don't put disqualifiers on my statement. I'm a man. I'm anti-abortion. Yeah, maybe there's circumstances. That's for us to discuss in the future. We need to make it illegal again. And that's why I'm a conservative. You'll never hear a liberal talk about that, by the way, but I'm a conservative. And if truthfully you want to know why the Jewish people vote Democrat more often, it's because the Jewish people are socially liberal. Jewish people love the idea of abortion. They believe that's it's like a divine right. They love the idea of it for their women. So there's that as well. Also, I'm anti-transgender all the way. I think it's utter nonsense. It's fantasy fiction is what it is. There are two genders, and that's how we were created, and that's how it will always be. So I won't vote Democrat for that either. I am anti-immigration. I am anti-open borders. I am pro-American. So yeah. There is a difference. It is not a total uniparty, but the bottom line is, when it comes to certain objectives, when it comes to certain issues politically, they do seem to be on the same page in the worst ways. And why? It's because of big money. It's because of big money. Why do they oftentimes come together to support big pharma? Why do they come together in some cases to support foreign wars? Sometimes. Democrats are wise. They're getting wise to this, actually. Give them props, to be honest with you. But why do they come together for that stuff? Why is our food still poisoned? With all the harmful pesticides and sprays. Why is that just like bipartisan? Everything that the parties are bipartisan on are all the stuff that's bad for us. It's just money. It's big money. We have to force politics to become grassroots again. Again, why I like James Fishback so much. He refuses to take any big donation dollars. All grassroots. He started with $950 in his pocket, and he's raised $250,000 now, all grassroots donations, all traceable donations. You can track all of it, and he's on course to raise $1 million by Easter. That's what we need infinitely more of. No more big money in our politics. That's what we need. But good luck getting enough candidates in office to vote against that, because that goes against their own interest. Oh yeah, money. Oh yeah, the chat's moving so fast. Bold as a lion. So, but yeah, you're agreeing with me on that at least. Bingo. You're saying why it's yeah, it is absolutely money. Yep, corporate interest lobbying, APAC. Yep, I agree. I completely agree. Hey, chaos for you. Welcome back, man. Bodily autonomy. They've proven to be too irresponsible with that autonomy. You're talking about women, and yeah, I agree. Yeah, women need way less rights in this country. In all honesty, it was a big mistake to give them so much. They're stupid, and they never want to take credit for anything. By the way, women have all these rights now, and then they're like, well, but we're still not responsible for anything. It's all men's fault. It's the man's fault I got pregnant. Women need to shut the fuck up. We're done with their bullshit, and if there's one thing we're progressing towards that's good, it's the intolerance for women and their nonsense. If I were a more likable person, I'd run, but my ideas wouldn't fit with the mainstream pleb, says Chaos for you. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, right? But you'd be surprised, chaos for you. Perhaps it depends on how. Listen, we also don't need super radical people, so I understand what you're saying. I think maybe you do have the right approach then. Sometimes I sit down too and I think maybe I'm a little too far as well. But also, what you'd be surprised by, I think, in all honesty, and why I created this channel, for instance, and why there's other channels that I have started watching a little bit more of when I have the time to, you'd be surprised at just how many people probably agree with you on a lot of your stuff. They just don't want you to think that a lot of people agree with you. They want you to think nowadays, this is how sad our politics are. Nowadays, you're a radical if you think that we shouldn't be at war in Iran. That's like radical now. You're like, you're called a Democrat. I'm a conservative. I voted for Trump. And now it's like, I can't believe you that you're against war in Iran. You're a radical if you point out something like big money in politics, like APAC. You're a radical now all of a sudden for that stuff. But is that really radical? It's like moderate. It's common sense stuff. So perhaps you'd be surprised if you ran at how much support you actually got, chaos for you. Perhaps you'd be surprised. Barron Trump 2032. I kind of do like Barron has aura. Barron's got aura. We'll see how he turns out as a person. I think we might be doomed. No black pill yet, but it is in the medicine cabinet. You're stocked up, lifeguard. No, I don't. I'm not taking the black pill. I'll never take the black pill. Never. They do sacrifice children to Moloch. Yeah, it's true. Who? Men are part of the equation, chaos, says Olivia. What are you talking about? FBI Director Kash Patel, along with the Attorney General Pam Bondi, announced the arrest of 205 alleged child predators in a nationwide operation called Operation Restore Justice. Thanks for that, Mark Block. Listen, that's the stuff that I expect the DOJ to do. That's like literal basic stuff. Good news? Yeah. Basic stuff, though? Yeah. It's like when she talks about arresting 4,000 like drug dealers. Good. Yeah. Any DOJ does that. Literally any DOJ. I literally, that's the expectation. Okay? I expect much more out of this DOJ because I was promised a lot by the Trump administration. So if it's not a deep state arrest, I don't give that much of a shit. Until I see deep state arrest, until I see the full Epstein files released, this DOJ is already a failure. It will continue to be a failure. So you can tell me all you want, these nice sob stories of success here. That's good. That's standard. That's the standard stuff. And they want you to focus on that. They're hoping that's enough for you, and it shouldn't be. And I don't care how much of a calloused asshole I sound for saying that. That's not enough. That's the expectations you're celebrating right there. They want you to stay there. Stay at the standard line. Never demand more. That's not how politics work. If fascism ever comes to America, it will come in the name of liberalism, says Ronald Reagan. I completely disagree with that. That's not what fascism is. Hyper-conservatism. Fascism, by the way, you want to know how fascism ever comes to America? I'll tell you how. And maybe you can stop and pause and take a look around and understand the problem right now with this Trump administration. Fascism will come to America when the cost of living is in complete crisis and nobody can afford anything. When people can't afford homes, they can't afford their groceries anymore, they're starting to go hungry at night. And fascism will come when that's happening in combination with no justice happening, with absolutely no deep state arrest, with complete corruption in the government, two-tier justice system. The poor people are punished while the rich people are exonerated. And fascism will come when you look at your country and you realize it's prioritizing all of the world's citizens over yourself. When your society is degenerate, when everything is fucked, all social issues are skyrocketing and becoming massive issues more and more. Quality of life continues to go down. That's when fascism comes. And that's why fascism is technically like hyper-conservatism. It is not liberalism. Fascism is the result of desperation. It's the result of a society that of people that looks around and says, everything's fucked. We must restart here. We must have law and order. And that's what happens. That's how fascism enters a country. It's not from liberalism. Now, if you want to say in the name of liberalism, I disagree with that. But if you want to say liberalism kind of causes that, there's an argument to be had there, because the progressive liberal agenda does erode society. It makes us more degenerate. They like the abortions. They like the transgenderism. They hate the gender norms. They hate masculinity. They despise law and order. They want to defund the police. They celebrate George Floyd, right? That's in part what causes a lot of the problems. They don't manage money well. They make the economy worse. But then on the flip side, you currently have these spineless, cucked Republicans that aren't willing to fix any of it. They're willing to watch the Democrats destroy society, and then you get the Republicans in who won't fix it. They're the lesser of two evils, so at least they won't make it as bad. And then on top of it, in some cases, they still do wind up making it bad or worse. Like in this case we're seeing here. Trump has fixed a few things, but then he goes and unravels and does this Iran war that's going to cost us billions of dollars. And truthfully, he's not fixing enough of our social issues. There's still so much wrong with our society now. And that's when fascism comes. That's when it comes. You know, what will liberalism lead to? Socialism and then communism. That's the natural progression for that. Fascism's on the other end of the extreme. No, man. Wait, Olivia, are you desperately trying to? Oh no, you're not. Okay, I'll show that comment still. No, men need to shut the fuck up. Men need to shut the fuck up. Yeah. Back to the kitchen, says Tom. So much fun. So much talking stupidity. Man. I don't know where Glenn is, but I wish these comments weren't hidden. I'm a radical. I'm talking about my moderator, Glenn. I'm a radical for being anti-feminist. No, you're not a radical for that. Welcome to the experience of being rational in an irrational world. The problem with this DOJ is they act like Trump's personal team of lawyers instead of a true Justice Department. That's probably true. President Donald Trump recently signed the VA Home Loan Program Reform Act into law to help veterans facing homelessness at the risk of losing their homes. Yeah, you know what happened? You want to talk about a veteran? Did you guys see the news today about the Marine sergeant veteran? A sergeant in the Marines showed up in uniform today to protest the Israel war, and he openly stood up and protested our men going to die for Israel, and he was promptly escorted out. Done so in such a rough manner by the police and by one of our own Republican politicians, actually, that they broke this guy's arm, all because he stood up and shouted against Israel and this war in Iran. He had his arm broken and he was treated like shit. By the way, they're sharing that clip and they're editing out the first minute or so, or 30 seconds, where he's protesting the war and Israel specifically. So you want to talk about veterans and how they're treated? I guess they're only treated conditionally nice depending on what their viewpoints are. Not to mention, we'll see what happens with veteran homelessness, because most administrations don't actually really ever deal with that problem. Fascism is here already. You're an idiot. Fascism is here now. You're an idiot. Wrapped in a Bible and an American flag. You're an even bigger idiot. That is just, God, that is low IQ goy shit. Fascism is already here. Don't you see it? It's the evil orange man. He's a fascist. He's not a fascist. Trust me. If he was, I wouldn't be so unhappy with him. And hypermasculinity is an acclaimed virtue. Yuck. Why don't you go shave your hairy pussy, you bitch? And shave your armpits, too. Cane battle. You call not being a female boy hypermasculinity? He's actually right about this. Economic disparity always precedes fascist takeovers. At least you agree with some. At least you're smart enough sometimes, Olivia, to agree with me. At least sometimes. But that's only because you think you can use that, of course, to speak out. Listen, as critical as I am of Trump, he's going to finish this term up in a disastrous fashion, right? That's the most realistic outcome. There won't be a third term. He's not a fascist, okay? It's going to be fine, I promise you. In fact, you should be happy based off of how you sound. This war is going to tank the Republican Party, and we're very likely going to get liberals in office. And the first thing that liberals will do when they're in office will be censorship, okay? And then you'll be like, oh, good, they deserve it. And then you'll be like, but I hate fascism, though. I hate fascists. I hate fascism, but free speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences. And if you say stuff that hurts my feelings, you deserve to be punished for it. But I despise fascism. So fucking stupid. Mark Block says President Donald Trump. I'm not even listen. You can sit here all you want. This will be 6,000 homeless veterans. You can sit here all you want. You're missing the bigger point. The problem with socialism is that socialism has no backup plan when the money is all gone. Yeah, that's true. It's not Trump's fault about the sergeant. It's not the senator's fault, the Marine. The Marine grabbed the area and he got his arm caught in the door. Yeah, maybe if they saw a guy in uniform protesting, I don't know, war, something that the sergeant had a lot of experience in, maybe instead of just quickly trying to escort him out because he said the magic words, by the way. What are those magic words? I don't want people dying for, what was it again? What was it? Israel! Maybe if they would have, just respected him a little bit more than that, instead of trying to literally tackle him to the floor and shackle him, they saw the uniform. You can kind of tug on him and say, okay, buddy, you made your point, time to leave. As soon as he did what he did, man, it looked like he was about to, they treated him like a Muslim trying to suicide bomb the place. Okay. That's one of our Marines who has experience in war. And that's how he was treated. And why was he treated that way? It's because he spoke out against Israel. It's because he defied the administration's agenda. And it's because he caused a scene. Yeah, he caused a scene, okay? How many people have done that in the past and not been treated that bad? Let alone a guy who's a sergeant in the Marines wearing a uniform who served this country? And his arm got broke. Well, he shouldn't have stuck his arm in the door then. Fuck you. You know damn well if this happened under the Biden regime, by the way, you know damn well you'd be outraged about this. You would be outraged over this. If that had happened as a result of the Biden regime when they sloppily pulled out of Afghanistan and left behind our equipment and it cost American lives and a Marine stood up to protest that, and under the Biden regime this happened, you'd be like, look at how the Biden administration treats our Marines. This is just despicable. But because it's happening under Trump, it's not Trump's fault, about the sergeant. It's not the senator's fault either about the Marine. The Marine grabbed the area and he got his arm caught in the door. Here's the definition of propaganda for you. Logic must work universally. It must be universally applied. Logic must work in all cases. If it doesn't, meaning you would have criticized Biden and his administration under these circumstances, but you're unwilling to criticize this one because it's Trump, then it's called propaganda. And it's called, you're in a cult and you're brainwashed. It was his hand that got broken. Oh, it was just this. Oh, guys. That settles it. Only the Marine's hand got broken. The sergeant in the Marines, he spent a life of service so far. He's a veteran of war. Only his hand got broken. Never mind. Wow, how off base I was. Trump is not running. That I agree with you on. Yeah, hey, listen. Mark, that I'll agree with you on. The Democrats are stupid for that. They do eat that shit up, and the Democrats get voted by Trump. Literally, Trump will talk about the third term. It's an obvious joke. It's an obvious joke. It's to rile up the Democrats, and it works every time because they do have TDS. But I'm also at a point now where the severe MAGA sycophants have TDS as well. They have reverse TDS. He can't do any wrong, and anybody who criticizes him all of a sudden is like a major issue. Allison, hey, Alice in Nutshell. Is Nutshell the song from Alice in Chains? Is that one of your favorite songs? Because I love Alice in Chains. You said, and I voted for him, but what else did you say? Oh, my mom died. I did see that interview too with Piers Morgan. My mom died in the Holly. and I voted for him. What do you mean you voted for him? You talking about Trump? If you're an Alice in Chains fan, though, you're hella cool. You need to subscribe to this channel. The senator is a dual citizen. That senator is a dual citizen, says Olivia. I hate dual citizenship. Dual citizenship should not be allowed. Zionist. Oh, interesting. He fought those officers. He fought them. He shouldn't have fought them. He shouldn't have fought those officers. He deserved it. You have nothing to say, Mark. Nah, because dual citizens get to vote in elections too. They shouldn't be able to. You should have to renounce what other citizenship you have. If you want to be an American citizen, well, first of all, we just need to shut down immigration in this country in general. I don't want to hear about anybody else becoming a citizen in this country for the next 20 years. Only American-born children should have that right at this point for the next 20 years. Shut it down. Universally shut it down. We got to fix so much in this country. We just need to shut it down. We need to start hiring bounty hunters to assist ICE and just ramp up deportations too. We need to exile like 24 million motherfuckers in this country at the very least. And that's just going to take a lot of time. And we should just keep our borders shut down. There's so much to fix domestically in this country. But yeah. And while it's shut down, we need to reform immigration policy. Dual citizenship has to go. You must renounce citizenship from that other country. You will either come here and be an American or you will not come here at all. Yeah, God, yes. Deport all the immigrants who bend the knee to their home country, too. Yeah, I agree, Chaos of You. Every politician that has a foreign flag outside of their office, like Pramila Jayapal, get that bitch out of this country, right? Ilhan Omar, I say this all the time, prime example. She should be investigated first because she very likely could be linked to the fraud there up in her state. And if she's linked to the fraud conclusively, well, she should have her assets seized from her. We should take everything she owns except for the clothing on her back, and then we should fly her over to Somalia with nothing and dump her out of the plane. Let her fend for herself back in her home country where she belongs. Pramila Jayapal, she doesn't even say we when she talks about Americans in America. She says you. She says they, them, you, not we, us, never. She doesn't even identify as an American. She's a foreign op. Get her out too. No dual citizens. And if that senator today, he was a GOP senator. If that senator today has dual citizenship, he should be forced to either renounce that citizenship or he should have the same fate handed out to him too, because it is a universal blanket in my mind. I don't want it for the GOP party either. You're either an American or you're just not here in America. Nothing will get fixed under capitalism anyway. Oh, God. This is why women shouldn't be allowed to vote. I'm a Christian conservative. Oh, you are? I wouldn't have expected that out of you. I'm critical of Trump because he promised the world and didn't deliver, period. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even buy into all of Trump's promises. I never for once in a single solitary second believed Trump would end the Russia-Ukraine war day one. That was obvious hyperbole, right? But I'm kind of with you on it for sure. I didn't picture you as a Christian conservative though, bold as a lion. You don't. It's no offense, but you don't really seem Christian, you don't really seem conservative, is what I should say. Christian, I could see that maybe. I can't really judge you on that. But from what you say in my chat, I just kind of assumed you were either centrist leftist or liberal, to be honest with you. But that's good to know. I'm glad you are. I'm glad you are Christian conservative. Most of them have dual citizenship with Israel. Some of them definitely do. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm pretty much going to wrap it up from here. I covered what I mostly wanted to tonight. I didn't really have anything written down. I just kind of was spitballing a little bit, but I remembered a lot of the articles that I was reading that I wanted to talk about. I got this Streamlabs app downloaded on my phone, too. I was going to use that to try and screen share the articles, and I couldn't figure it out. It's so confusing, Streamlabs. I remember back when I was streaming on Twitch, I used to get paid on Twitch for video games, actually. Streamlabs sucked then too, and the mobile app's even worse. It was like you can't screen share these articles because your phone is in landscape mode, but also in portrait mode at the same time. I'm like, what the fuck is this app even talking about? So it kind of threw a jinx in my plan tonight. But I'm gonna figure it out so that I can start screen sharing news articles on here, possibly even YouTube videos while I'm streaming from my phone for now. And then I'll upgrade the internet eventually. I'm just in the process of moving soon, so I want to wait to get good internet till I move. And then from there, I'll just, I'll stream from my computer anyway. Anyways, thanks for the super chatter tonight. Appreciate you so much. Thank you to everybody in my chat, even the ones that I think are kind of retarded, which is honestly most of you. But to my loyal followers, Keystone Liberty, 2009 Lifeguard, Glenn, my moderator now. Appreciate you guys. Chaos for you, I recognize now. Thank you so much. Olivia, you're kind of dumb overall, but you agreed with me sometimes, so you're tolerable. Bold as a lion, good to see you back. I remember you just because of your funny reactions when I was talking about immigration. It's good to see you as well. All right, guys, take care. Don't take the black pill, Lifeguard. Do not take the black pill. There is hope for this nation. We can bring this country back. We can restore it to where it needs to be. The Conservative Party is dead because it failed to conserve much of anything. But the Restore America Party must rise, and we must bring back everything conservatives lost. I believe we can do it. I believe the young generations will do it. But that'll happen in time. For now, all we can do is pray. Glory to America. God bless the USA. God bless all of you, even the ones I think are stupid. God bless you guys. May the Lord watch over you. May he bless you. Have a great rest of your evening. I'll be back live tomorrow to discuss whatever else is going on. Probably more Iran stuff. Until then, they'll have a great evening.